Hi, and welcome to Gardening with Grace. I'm Grace Manzer, horticulture agent in Pasquotank County. In my last video, I showed you the proper way to take herbaceous cuttings. Well, today I'm going to show you the proper technique for sticking those cuttings. So, I have in my Ziploc bag the cuttings that I took yesterday. I am going to, if you remember, they were kept in wet paper towel. I added some extra water to make sure they stayed moist. So I'm going to pull them out of the bag and then reveal them. So I have my purple wandering Jew cuttings and the goldfish plant cuttings. So these are what I'm going to put. I'm going to put 2 pots full of purple wandering Jews and 2 pots full of goldfish plant. So for our purple wandering Jews, these can actually be a bit of a nuisance when it comes to a greenhouse. So we have no need for rooting hormone. We are just going to lay these right on here. So like we talked about last time, their roots are going to come out at their nodes, which is where the leaves are. So I'm just going to pull off this bottom leaf, take my finger, stick it down in there, and then push it back down around there. And I'm going to do that for every one of these guys. I'm just going to take off the bottom leaf or so, and then stick it down into the soil. Now, wandering Jews are really fantastic when it comes to taking root. They actually are quite a bit of a nuisance when it comes to being in a greenhouse. So it's really, really simple to just kind of throw them on there, and you don't have to be very precise. I know that propagation is such a scary word, but in actuality, cuttings are really easy to do, and it's great to start with something that is so low risk, like a wandering Jew, because there's almost a guarantee that these are all going to take. So I'm putting a bunch of them in there, and I know that it might seem kind of crowded, but that's because I'm putting them all in there, giving them the opportunity to sprout. And once they've rooted and started growing, I'm going to separate them. And I'll show how to separate plants in another video. So that was my wandering Jews. Now, I'm going to move on to my goldfish plants. Now, these guys also root really well, but they won't hurt from having some rooting hormone added to them. So I'm going to show you the proper way to add some rooting hormone. Rooting hormone is fantastic to use with things that are woody or some herbaceous roots that take a hard time. So the way that you use a rooting hormone, you dip and get it coated, and then you stick it right down into the soil like it was. Now, this is a really great example to use. These goldfish plants are really great because you have to be very important when you're planting cuttings that you put the bottom part down, especially if you've taken them a day before and now are planting them in the next day. So you need to make sure that where you cut it off the mother plant is the bottom part is going down, because that's the way that the nutrients flow. So if we were to say take this cutting and not know which, if we were to say take this cutting and see I've got it cut on both ends, and I didn't think about which way the roots were growing, and I put it down into the ground like this, well, it wouldn't grow, because the roots need to come from this direction, because the phloem is flowing down. Phloem, the xylem only flows up, which means they only take water from the bottom. So we're going to take this one. We're going to pull off the bottom leaves just like we did with the wandering Jew. We're going to dip it in. And again, this one, even with the rooting hormone, it does take a little bit more time. I have some great big cuttings that I'm actually cutting into smaller pieces. Really, really easy to make these cuttings. And you can stick them right down into the soil like that. And there we have it. Those and those. And there you go. Now you know how to take and stick cuttings. Thank you so much for watching Gardening with Grace, and I hope to see you next time.